Alright, hello guys. In today's video, I'm going to be presenting you my January 2020 forecast. We're going to go over the precipitation forecast, temperature forecast, and even our overall forecast, which is going to be super cool. Now, before I get started with this video though, I would ask that you do subscribe if you like weather-related content, and also make sure to share this video with your friends and family if they love weather content as well. Now let's get started with things. We're going to get started with our precipitation forecast first off, and we're starting out with our above average precipitation region or regions. You'll see that there is a second region I'll present to you in a second, but we're starting out with our northwest region. You can see this is for mostly the northern Pacific Northwest regions of the United States, and then it extends into the northern Rockies, down through the southern Rockies in Colorado, and then back up through portions of the Midwest, including Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, and Minnesota, a little bit of Iowa there as well. And this is an area where I expect the jet stream is going to come through sometimes and bring a lot of storm systems into this area. This is what we've seen throughout December as well. Sometimes those storm systems will dip south into the Four Corner States and then come back up north through areas like Kansas, Nebraska, and Minnesota, and that's what's been bringing us some pretty massive snowstorms as well, including the one that we just had. So we might see some more very, very exciting patterns take place like that over the course of the month of January. Now I'm about to add a second area of above average precipitation for the southeastern United States, which is going to be super exciting to take a look at. As you can see here, we do have some regions there for Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, in through the Carolinas and Virginia, a little bit of Tennessee there as well, and Florida. This is an area where we're expecting to also see some slightly above average precipitation in these two lighter shade colors. This won't be too noticeable, but I do expect storm systems to come through the northwest. And then down through the southeast as well, some storms coming through the Gulf and into these regions. I don't know how much snow we'll have for these regions. I think that as of right now, I don't see any cold that comes down deep enough to bring that deep south region of the United States any snowfall. But, you know, as we get later in the month, I think the possibilities are endless, obviously. Now, we even have a second shade of green here for the southeastern United States, which also extends from Louisiana through southern regions of Alabama and Mississippi, all of Georgia, and a lot of the northern regions of Florida as well, through the Carolinas, and then up through even into southern Virginia. I think this is an area where we'll have a pretty consistent storm track, and it only takes a few big ones to get these areas above their average. But in this medium shade of green, it will be quite noticeable that you have above average precipitation. It's going to be pretty stormy, and again, you'll notice it quite a bit. It won't go unnoticed for sure. Now we're about to get into our below average precipitation regions, where we can see where it's going to be more dry than what's typically expected. And as you can see, this is pretty much a horseshoe shape from California, Nevada, down through the southern Four Corner states like Arizona, New Mexico, and then back up through Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Kansas, Missouri, and into Illinois, Indiana, and a little bit of Kentucky and Tennessee there as well. It's going to horseshoe down and move around our above average precipitation area to our north for the Rockies. So it's basically going to be to the west of it, to the east of it, and to the south of it. So all the surrounding regions of that above average precipitation region are going to be below average precipitation in these areas. I'm not expecting too many California storms to come down. We might see one of those storms that horseshoes around and brings a lot of snow for the Nebraska, Colorado, Minnesota, and the Dakotas, areas like that. I'm expecting maybe a couple of those, but not enough to really bring our precipitation above average for these areas in this more tan shade. And that's the first shade, so again, won't be too noticeable, but as we move on to our second shade here, which you can see for southern Nevada, southern California, and then even southern Arizona here, this is where it's actually going to be quite dry. I'm not expecting too many storms like we had in December for the state of California, in the southern portions of the state, that is. I think it's going to be noticeable that it's quite dry, but in recent history, we've had a lot of dry months for these regions, so you might not even really notice it that much. It's going to be pretty comparable to what we've had in years past, but I think it's just going to be an overall dry month for these regions. So just to recap, we have above average precipitation for the Pacific Northwest, in through the Rockies, and into the Midwest. We also have a second area of above average precipitation for the Southeast, where we actually have a medium shade there as well, and it's going to be quite stormy. And then we have some below average precipitation horseshoeing around the Rockies, basically for the West Coast, and then back through some of the middle portions of the United States. And we even have a medium shade of brown there for Southern California and Southern Arizona. Now, we're about to get into our official temperature forecast, which is going to be very, very exciting to look at. We have some areas expecting some deep cold, and then some areas that are going to be quite mild comparatively to normal as well. All right, let's get right into this. We're going to add our first layer of temperatures here, and this is going to be our above average temperature region here, and it's going to be for the southeast and the deep south. Once again, coastal Texas in through Louisiana, southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, portions of Georgia, South Carolina, and that very southeastern region in North Carolina, and also Florida. All of these regions are expecting slightly above average temperatures at least, and this is what we've been dealing with all winter so far, and it doesn't look like it's going to end anytime soon. This is one of those things that you can't really forecast for in a seasonal forecast, but now that we're in more of like the 1 month time frame, I'm easily able to see that we will have a lot of ridging going on down there, which is going to bring warmer than normal conditions. We even have a second shade of orange here, and it's going to be a lot more noticeable here in Florida that it's going to be quite warm at times, I believe. We will be dealing with some warmth, and then the storminess. We might have a lot of thunderstorms down there in Florida, actually, as we see this pattern set in. Let's add our first area of below average temperatures, and this is actually going to be our only area of below average temperatures. Everywhere in between the warm and the cold, by the way, is equal chances. I'm not expecting it to be particularly warm or hot, but it might be one or the other. It's harder to predict those in-between areas. So I'll give it an equal chance to be below average or above average within all of those in-between areas. But for our light blue here, we're going to be dealing with slightly below average temperatures, especially in the northwest and the north central United States, but a little bit of interior northeast as well, getting in on some of those below average temperatures here, including the Great Lakes regions as well, by the way. Now, we even have a second shade of blue here for the Rockies, and then in through the upper Midwest as well. This is an area where I expect we might have some deep cold coming in at times, and this will be the coldest area for the month of January, I believe, here from Montana down through portions of Idaho and Utah, most of Wyoming, most of South Dakota, and then all of North Dakota. And then we see portions of Minnesota, Wisconsin, and the upper peninsula of Michigan also getting in on these moderately below average temperatures. Again, I think this is where the deepest cold will be during the month of January. Now, we're about to get into our super exciting overall forecast where you can kind of see my opinion on what the weather will most likely be like for your region during the month of January. Now we're going to work our way from west to east. You can see for the Pacific Northwest up there, I've mentioned throughout this video, I'm expecting quite stormy conditions up there for the Pacific Northwest. I think it's going to be a little bit spotty. There might be some dry periods, but overall, it's really going to be a stormy month there as the jet stream heads right on shore to Oregon and Washington. That's going to bring those low pressure systems right on shore, and they're going to head into the Rockies and potentially bring us some high elevation snowstorms like we've been seeing throughout the month of December. As we head south of that region, though, we see more dry conditions for the Southwest. I mentioned that several times in this video as well. California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, and portions of New Mexico, we're all expecting pretty dry conditions throughout the month of January. As we head east, there's a gray area down there for New Mexico, Texas, Louisiana. This is where I'm expecting average conditions, or really there's just no comment that I have for this region. It's going to be pretty close to average on all cylinders. Obviously, some stuff's going to happen that can't really be predicted this far out, but overall, it's going to be a little bit more average than the surrounding regions. To the north of there in our pink region, I see some more snowstorms in our future. We've had pretty similar snowstorms to what I'm expecting take place already in the month of November and December. These horseshoe storms that come from Colorado and move up through Kansas and Iowa, bringing snowfall to the areas to the north of the low pressure system. I expect that it's quite possible we see some more snowstorms that are similar to that. To the north of this region, we see the heart of the cold in this purple region. I don't have to say much here, again, on my temperature forecast. You saw we were expecting colder than normal conditions and the deepest of the cold to be located over this purple region. Now, for the southeastern United States, we're expecting stormy conditions as that's where we saw the most above average precipitation comparatively to normal, obviously, on my precipitation forecast, and I don't expect that to change. To the north there, we see stormy at times for that kind of lighter green shade there for Oklahoma up through Arkansas and then back up into the Great Lakes regions of the United States. It's going to be stormy at times, but not really consistent, and I don't really think enough to make your precipitation above average, but I think we'll have some drier times and then some really stormy times. to the north there for the Great Lakes and the interior Northeast. I think it'll be cold at times, particularly later in the month. I think we'll have some more cold blasts that'll bring us around average in temperatures and maybe even below average temperatures here for those blue regions. And then last but not least, for the mid-Atlantic and also some coastal regions of the northeastern United States, I'm expecting some snow chances. That doesn't mean I'm expecting above average snow, but I definitely think there will be some more snow chances than what we saw in December. Snow chances meaning there will be a chance at snowstorms. They might pan out, they might not. We'll just have to wait and see as we get closer. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to share it with your friends and family, like I said before, and I'll see you guys in the next video.